Today we have another very informative webinar for you, focusing on AmaWaterways culinary experiences. Our executive corporate chef, Robert Kellerhals, along with two of our loyal AmaWaterways guests, Calvin Boris and Louise Brenders, gluten-free baking industry connoisseurs with gluten-free meal requirements, will all whet your appetite on a mouth-watering journey through the award-winning culinary experiences offered on board our ships and during our included shore excursions. You'll learn about our membership in the renowned La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs Culinary Society, our palate-pleasing celebration of wine cruises. We have your familiar and friendly host from AmaWaterways, the most engaged and friendly executive team in the travel industry, who also enjoy the wonderful culinary offerings on our ships. And of course, today we'll start, with our role model and always inspiring, and I'll add in festive since it's a holiday season, Christine Karst, our co-founder and executive vice president. Hello, Christine.
Hello, Alex. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. Celebrating our culinary traditions on board our ships today, especially when it comes to our holiday cruises. Usually our favorite time to be on board our ships. We wish we could actually do this webinar from one of our ships right now. But we are fine, we are all healthy, we are here at home, and we hope that's the same with all of you. Please stay healthy and let's have a delicious culinary hour together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christine. And of course, our genuinely empowering, and I'll add cheerful for the holidays, Gary Murphy, our co-owner and senior vice president of sales. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Christine. Let's do one. We'll all be on our own ship.
Okay, thank you, Gary. And yours truly, Alex Pinella, of course, vice president of sales. And then we have our rock stars for today, our guest speakers, starting with Robert Kellerhals, joining us from Brasov, Transylvania and Romania. And of course, we have Calvin, Boris, and Louise Brenders joining us from Calgary, Alberta, and Canada. And you'll reserve, of course, you will get your well-deserved introductions shortly from Christine and Gary. So now I will turn it over to them for their opening remarks.
So some things about Robert. Robert, you made your career debut with a 3-year apprenticeship as a chef in a 15-go milieu restaurant. This is very, very high up. And the Culinary School of Switzerland in Zurich. Now, I lived in Zurich for about 8 years before I moved to California. And I know that this is the highest quality standard that you can really experience pretty much in the whole world. After passing the examination at the Chamber of Commerce for a fully trained chef, you continued with your career and you studied in the kitchen and graduated with the title of Culinary Master Chef. In 2013, we were so lucky that we were able to welcome you to AmaWaterways as an executive chef. And because you did such a wonderful job, you got promoted in 2014 to become our executive corporate chef. You were involved in all the culinary aspects of the operation fleet-wise. And since 2019, you have been working as our culinary director and part of La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs. You have been mentioned in several well-respected culinary magazines, so lots of testimonials, not just from our guests on board. And not only do you possess some outstanding skills and culinary techniques, but you are also passionate about working with fresh ingredients and sharing your culinary experiences. And this is what I personally have appreciated so much about Robert. It was always, very much on the green side, fantastic presentation. You will see lots of beautiful pictures here. And this is just the trend. And I know whenever I'm on board with so many of our guests, they always come and they say this is the best meal they ever had. So congrats again. Thank you for joining us, Robert.
Now I get to introduce Calvin and Louise from how you were getting snow yesterday when we spoke. Is it still snowing?
2 feet.
You're not snowed in then?
Oh,
No.
Almost.
Well, you know,
pretty close.
well, you know what? I think it's interesting looking at your background. First of all, I think this is the first time, or maybe the second time, we've actually had some of our guests join us on a webinar Wednesday. So thank you for participating. Louise, I know, I'm sorry to hear, I know you have celiac and you're very sensitive to gluten. And I recognize that, you know, you can't enjoy all those different food components, but you had a positive experience with us. What I find interesting is how Calvin, you are a culinary person in yourself, and that you used to import breads and things from Europe, and that you import certain baked goods, the wonderful breads, and that you have this knowledge of the food industry. You know the background of what's involved in presenting meals. You recognize that some of your best customers were from Austria and were members of Le Champ de Rôtissier that Christine mentioned earlier. So it's great that you have that background and coming on board so you know what's involved. I know you're both well-traveled. You've cruised, with many different lines. You've even cruised with different river cruise lines. And I just am thankful that you were able to join us so you can share your experiences of cruising with us. You cruised on the Tulip Time. I know you've been on the Douro, on board the Alma Magna on the Danube. So again, thank you for joining us and being part of today's webinar.
Our pleasure.
Our pleasure, Gary. So this is the irony. We were actually in the baking industry, not as bakers, but as providers of quality ingredients from Europe. And now we have this situation with gluten-free. Some of my career was basically in the food industry all my life. And as you mentioned, some of my best customers who produced high quality, artisanal type products were members of Chaîne de Rôtisseurs. And so this is the first exposure that we had to the concept and what it means. And having traveled before with different cruise lines who were always promising that they would be able to provide a good gluten-free experience, it didn't always turn out that way. And seeing that AMA had membership in Chaîne de Rôtisseurs actually was speaking quite loudly to us that there was a commitment and an understanding of the needs of people that have a food allergy. And for all of your travel advisors, I'm sure they get bombarded with a lot of questions from folks like ourselves. Before you travel, you just need the assurance and the safety of being able to eat and not have some adverse effects from that. And our experience with AMA was way over the top. And Louise has some good examples of that. But having some bad examples, AMA just removed everything. It allowed us to really relax and fully enjoy a good vacation.
I know, because when you're traveling, you're really entrusting your whole vacation to the chefs or to people serving you the food. We shared yesterday, I remember I used to be really adverse to shellfish, and I had a really bad reaction. And when I was in Indonesia, when I asked the guy, I said, I told you I'm allergic to shellfish. And he said, oh, but I only put a little bit of oyster sauce.
I'm not a little bit allergic.
But we really appreciate what you're saying, because for us it's just normal. We do it, to the very best, to the very highest standards, the way we are used to this all the time. But to receive this kind of acknowledgement means really a lot to us, to Robert, to our entire both culinary team, but also our crew serving you the meals, because everything really comes together. The food quality, of course, the quantity, but of course also the service. Now, all our ships in Europe are members of La Chaîne de Rôtisseurs. So this is a prestigious international culinary society that originated in France. And this is with a good reason. So you cannot buy your way into La Chaîne. You will be invited to join. And our expert chefs craft menus that feature the most exquisite, locally sourced cuisine, as well as traditional Western offerings. So now we do have our beautiful Chef's Table restaurant on board. And while many other cruise lines promote their special dining places for an extra charge, the Chef's Table, really one of the finest dining venues that you can imagine, is included in our cruise fare, also including all the fine local wines from the region that come with it. It is an intimate specialty restaurant where you can watch the chef prepare a lavish multi-course menu. It's a special tasting menu, completely different from our main restaurant. And you watch the chef right in front of you. So each dinner at the Chef's Table is served with complimentary hand-selected local red and white wines from the regions where we are cruising through in Europe. And there's also sparkling wine, of course. And there is, when it comes to breakfast, let's just go away from dinner. So breakfast, sparkling wines, mimosa, fresh juices, fresh squeezed orange juice, and not just the juices out of, you know, the package. Everything is really done freshly on board. And of course, the wines come also with lunch and dinner. We have our sip and sail. We will talk about this later. And so it's all unlimited wine, beer, soft drinks, because we cannot expect that everyone likes to drink wine all the time. And so our guests truly indulge whenever and however they would like to do so. So very, very special.
Thank you, Christine. I have to tell you, I don't know if I'm going to make it to lunch. I don't know. I'm going to try. But anyway, so Robert, you are a member of La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs. So, you know, you will soon be inducted into the society as well. So a huge congratulations. We're so proud to have you as part of our family. Can you tell us a little bit more about what La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs actually is and what it means to you personally?
Well, as Christine already mentioned, it's an association of gourmets, professional chefs or non-professional chefs, but most of them related to the food industry or travel industry. It's not easy to become a member, so it's not the way that you just give money and you're going to be a member. So you need to have food industry, travel industry background. So yeah, a lot of members, 80 countries around the world, 24,000 members. And I'm very proud to be a part of the La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs, and also that AmaWaterways was, I think, the first river cruise company who was member of La Chaîne des Rôtisseurs with Rudi Schreiner together, 2011. And yeah, we are very proud to be part of it.
And so just back to Louise. And Louise, I know that your parents are actually from Holland originally.
Yeah.
Is there, or Robert, maybe you can say it, because I know there are so many chain chapters in Germany, in Austria, in, you know, many different countries, of course, France, where it originates. Was there one in Holland as well?
I think there are also, for example, now I'm in Austria. My chapter is Styria, the chapter. So, but there are many chapters in each country. So it's not only like one chapter in one country. And for sure in Holland, they also have a few chapters.
Yeah, okay, all right. But so I know, Robert, you want to talk about all the food, what is here, what we see. So what is all part of it?
Well, Robert, again, of the history of the company, Robert, I remember when we started very beginning. We are always trying to improve. And I remember when we went from frozen items on board to now everything fresh, and that how it must really, you know, present a management challenge on how to keep all this fresh goods coming to the ships, all the fresh meats and produce and fish. But, you know, sourcing and integrity. Can you walk us through how this happens?
Well, as a passionate chef, like all our chefs, we all also have good relationship with the farmers from outside, with our suppliers. So we really get all the time fresh food, vegetables, fish, meat, any ports. We have connections through all the years. And I think to work with good quality of food, it doesn't mean that the food is expensive. It means that you have good sources like bio, the animals are well treated, all these kind of things.
And the baked goods on board, they're all.
Yeah.
When do they start baking?
So we have a baker on board. He's working in the night actually. So when everybody's sleeping, he's baking the breads. It's an incredible job what he's doing, because I think we are one of the only river cruises that are baking fresh bread, fresh pastries, fresh donuts for your wife also, Gary, on board all the time. Yeah. So
okay, Daphne is going to really appreciate you calling out that she likes getting those fresh donuts on board.
Always ready, and that's why we are very flexible, because our bakers are really baking the bread fresh, also for the allergies or whatever. He's baking in the night all the bread fresh for the next day.
Well, Louise, come on, tell us how was the bread?
Well, the bread was excellent, and as I was on board, the server would bring my warm bread to the table, just like everyone else would normally get. So once the server knew what my allergy was, I constantly had fresh ingredients, fresh bread, just like everyone else. I would get an opportunity to have what everyone else was having in a gluten-free manner. Not absolutely everything, but not just one option, which is often the case. So there were, breads and buns, and there were different gluten-free options for me in the same way that everyone else gets them. And that's important to people who are celiac, who are used to getting one thing, one choice. Mm-hmm. There are always multiple choices for me.
And we've never experienced that anywhere else.
No, never since either, no.
It's also important for me, who's not celiac, I couldn't sit and have one of your fresh baked rolls if there was nothing for Louise. So it's very inclusive, the whole package that's put together by your chefs.
Yeah. And I know, Robert, you also do so much depending on the season, because it's so important that we have seasonal fruit, seasonal vegetable, and so on. Can you talk a little bit more about this? I always love the asparagus when I come on board our ships in May. May is white asparagus time in Germany and Austria, right? So that's so important.
May and June, and as just mentioned before, high quality of food means also seasonal food. When the fruits, the vegetable taste the best. So we really try to adopt with the berries, with the asparagus, pumpkin, chestnuts. So really we try to influence our menus always with seasonal products. That's very important. Also for as a chef, it's very important that you always change the menu, give new taste to the guests. So we are really eager to follow the season all the time.
Well, I have to say it now as well. One of my favorite things next to asparagus is actually the apricots in July. Yeah. When we are cruising the Danube, we get them all from the Wachau Valley. How many different dishes do you do with the apricots? Because I know there are so many. And then we have our Sundeck party with, not the Apfelstrudel this time, but anything you make with the apricots, right?
We make apricot tarts, apricot dumplings, also very famous in the Wachau Valley. A nice dumpling with the cherry sauce, breadcrumbs around. We usually serve for lunch. The tart usually we serve for dinner. There are many kind of variation we can make. Also, we can do something with alcohol in the bar upstairs. They are doing some prosecco with apricot inside. There are many variations we can do.
Yeah, and of course, I know with the fish, fresh fish on board, that was very important when Rudy said at one point he doesn't want anything frozen, right? So contracts with the local fishermen along the river where we will get the fresh fish. And I know Rudy's very critical when he comes on board. He would always say, yes or no, right? So that really drives up the highest standards all together, and our guests truly appreciate this.
So Christine, I had a friendly competitor challenge me on this, saying there's no way you can have fresh fish every day on your ship. And I was on the cruise, and I remember asking Robert and going back into the refrigerator and seeing that all the fish is dated when it was packaged. And what, Robert, how many days do you have that once we get it, you have to serve it?
Usually with the river cruise ships, it's quite easy, let's say like this, because we have our suppliers. I can get any day fresh fish on board. We have in Budapest, we have in Bratislava, we have in Vienna, we have Vilshofen, Passau, Linz, up on the Rhine, everywhere. Also last year we got a new supplier now in Switzerland, in Basel. So we have everywhere fresh fish, and usually we don't keep the fish longer than 2 days on board.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's dated, and if it's an inspector comes on board and sees that it's dated and it's gone to 4 days, what happens?
That's very bad, actually. Yeah. So actually, also because we have every day a port, our food hygienic on board is very high, because it's not like on other ships when you are 7 days on the ocean. No, we are every day in a port, and authorities are coming always to check the ships. So we have to keep our food standards very high, hygienic level very high. That's very important. So unfresh fish wouldn't be a good thing for our guests, actually.
I know, or
Yeah.
financially, because I know there's heavy fines.
Financially, yes, also, because in a worst case scenario, they can also close the ship if it's yes. So that would be very bad for everybody.
So many responsibilities that you have, actually, not just to oversee cooking, right? Everything
No.
around there. And I have to say, talking about allergies, we know the number of guests on board who have any type of allergy, not just, gluten-free, but so many other things that you see here is really increasing. And you really can cater to pretty much everything except, and that's not an allergy, that is just something Orthodox Jewish cuisine will be very difficult on a river cruise ship, because the size of the kitchen is just not large enough to really divide everything. But that's pretty much the only thing what we cannot do, right? Everything else should be possible.
Yes, as all these allergies are daily base for us, because it's really the people have dietary requests, allergies. So we are really going into the menu with the guests day by day. So always a personal touch between the chef and the guests, the maître d'. So really follow their requests, and they are, I think till now we did a very good job.
Yeah.
Louise, would you agree with that, Louise?
I was just going to say, I would absolutely agree. You know, you're met right away on the ship by the maitre d'. He puts a face to a name, understands your allergies, goes through any of your issues. And then the servers, you know, they're aware of who you are. They're always asking, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you want this? And they are very accommodating. As a matter of fact, one time Calvin was going up for some pasta, and the chef knew that I had had pasta before, and before Calvin could even ask, is there pasta for Louise? He said, yes, there's pasta for your wife. It's ready. I have some ready for her. So not only is it's always available, but people make sure that your needs are taken care of right away, and they're thinking before you're even asking. They're constantly doing things for you, which is really, like you said, Gary, when you have options to eat and you're enjoying your food, your cruise is amazing,
Carefree.
which it absolutely was.
Carefree.
And you know, the best reward for our crew is when they see you being happy and your smile, and that really means the world to everyone. Yeah. So
And many people complain about this, but Alex, just explain what the challenges we have with the water.
Absolutely. The most important thing, that the water on the rivers actually makes your clothes shrink. So it has nothing to do with the food or the calories that you eat on board. So remember that.
Now we know that we are, of course, now in a very different environment, and we know a lot of people are asking us, what will be the future of dining on board? And so while we don't want to say that a buffet is going away, I would say we change the name more to, it will be a display. A display from which our staff on board will serve you. So like in the morning, we will have more action stations than what we had already. And of course, this is Rudy's favorite here, the smoked salmon, the smoked trout. I know, Gary, so often we have the pickled herring there as well. I know you love that one.
Robert, that'll still be on the menu for breakfast, correct?
On your request, everything is available.
And I know not just on Gary's request, as we said, whatever our guests really are asking. And if we don't have it maybe one day, I know our chefs go into town to really get this delivered for the next day, to really please our guests. But so the seafood or the fish side, that is of course something special here, maybe not everyone's taste. Even so, I see many, many more guests eating very healthy, but there are also sweet and savory breakfast bowls that our chef is currently creating for many different tastes. And we have our cage-free eggs, omelets of any styles, pancakes with hot cherries, waffles, yogurts, parfaits, pastries to die for, oatmeal, fresh fruits. I mentioned already the sparkling wine, cold cuts. So much. We have an a la carte menu where you can order your minute steak, your eggs Benedict, and so much, much more. So the future will be that all of these selections will be served to you, to the table, and again, more culinary stations. Also, when it comes to lunch, where some of you who have been with us on the Mekong River have experienced our action stations there, like a walk station, or on the European ships, we had pasta stations, we had fish stations, so many things. They will be expanded. And then, of course, you will be able to choose from the menu, pick what you like, and it will be all brought to you to the table. That's at least the planning that we have now. But of course, we will see once we can get started again, how we can put this all into place and into perfection with the new norm that will be expected or will be given by the local governments of the countries we will be cruising through. Now, I know we have so many more slides, and we talked about, right? Part of it is the crew, the genuine service, always with a smile, of the crew members. They are usually from the countries we are cruising through, no matter if it's from the Czech Republic or Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Germany, Austria, Holland, and they are just so happy to show you the culinary traditions of the countries we are cruising through. And they become your friends, they become your family. And I really, I have to say, I miss the crew as much, Calvin and Louise, as you miss them. We even had, I was on board once with a guest. He is cruising with us several times every year. And in Dürnstein, we were docked next to one of our other ships. And he said, Christine, do I have enough time to go over to the other ships? Because believe it or not, I have more friends among your crew members than I have friends at home. And that is certainly, that was something we are very, very proud of it. So let's go to the next slide. And now, of course, the lunches. I mean, I talked about all these action stations. Robert, I know you are preparing already all these different lunches from the different countries for our ships when we get started again. And it's so funny when we say French cuisine, seafood and cheese, but then we say Alsatian, because the Alsatian region is, of course, part of France, but the Alsatians don't think they are French. It's something like the Bavarians in Germany. They say we are not Germans, we are better than Germans. So there are so many little things that are creating so much fun. And for me personally, your Bavarian lunch with the dumplings and the sausages and the greiners and the sauerkraut. It's one of my favorites. Of course, I'm living now in the States for almost 20 years, and I can never get it together here. So always great to have it. Hungarian, Portuguese, but so many different choices that we are preparing. Robert, do you want to say something about this without revealing too many secrets?
Well, I think all these action stations, let's say it like this, are we go to the region, we go to the country to bring the regional food, food of the country to our guests on board. They are mostly for lunches, our action stations. So yeah, surprise for next year, let's say like this.
There's one thing I didn't see covered in the slides here. Calvin, Louise, you might have missed it too. We're going to continue with our ice cream station, are we?
So Louise,
Yes,
talk about how do we manage the ice cream for you? And I know you traveled with your sisters, and all of you, you know, need gluten-free options. Tell us about everything, every part of not just breakfast, lunch, dinner. How were you able to manage?
Oh, it was very easy to manage on your ships because there was always, so the server always was able to describe what I could have. And if I said something that he wasn't sure, if I wanted something and he wasn't sure, he would run back and double check and say, yes, we can do that, or we can do, you know. So when we sat down and ordered, it was always, everyone went out of their way to accommodate whatever request we had. In terms of us getting what we wanted. When it came to the stations, like the ice cream station, the staff was all very knowledgeable and happy to say, yes, you can have all of these, you can have every one except for one, where normally we would be able to have one and not have everything else. So it was the exact opposite. We were able to have many options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And one thing that was really nice when we were in different ports, there was always some gluten-free local food as well. So that would be something that would be usually very difficult if we weren't on a ship where we would have to go and deal with a language barrier. And, you know, it was a pleasure to do on board because the food was available and always excellent. And as I said, usually more than one option. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. So the first time we were on the ship, there were the three of us, my sisters and myself, who were celiac. So the next time, and our experience was amazing. So the next time I was a little nervous because I thought, oh, well, it's only going to be me. Maybe I'm not going to get the same fabulous service. Maybe I'm not going to have as many options available. But I almost think the second was better than the first. So it didn't get worse. It only got better in terms of the service, the people, the one server who would bring me extra ice cream, you know, dessert for lunch every day. He knew I liked it. So if, you know, I would have one dessert and he'd say, oh, well, I have another little dessert for you. So he would bring me an extra dessert. So
you never get that anywhere else.
No, never.
The anticipation and the thoughtfulness, I just want to add a little to it. And when we hear Robert going out every day buying fresh foods, fresh ingredients, one of the surprises when on the cruise with Louise and her sisters, in their Dutch tradition at Christmas, speculaas is a type of a cookie, a ginger cookie that they love to have. And when you're having a gluten allergy, you can't have them anymore. During one of the dessert presentations, they brought speculaas, and so Louise and her sisters immediately, no, we can't have those. But they were so proud to say, but these are gluten-free. So this is something somebody decided on one of their trips. Maybe they discovered them on shore and found them. Again, the thoughtfulness, the anticipation. And for the travel advisors, for your customers, I can reassure you that it's worry-free traveling if you have an allergy. Mm-hmm. These are all the little special things that are done.
Yeah, and I'm happy you mentioned also the little snacks and cookies and all of this that is between the meals, right? Because it's not just about the 3 main meals that we have on board, but we serve tapas 24/7 pretty much between the meals. You know, there are so many different snacks available, and that's important for everyone. Yeah.
It is, and it's nice
One come out at like 10:30 at night.
Midnight snack.
it is nice. It said that there is something that says a gluten-free corner. We can tell you that we tried to get that gluten-free corner on other types of
ocean cruise,
but we were unsuccessful in convincing them because there was a sugar-free corner and there was this, you know, but there was no gluten-free corner, and that was, you know, so then you always had to ask someone. Where on your ships, they're always available. You can go have a cookie. You can, you know, have a snack anytime.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope you're all enjoying all these wonderful images that we have. But Robert, can you talk a little bit about La Chaîne de Rôtisserie dinner menu, please?
Well, the Chaîne de Rôtisserie dinner is a, let's say, a French themed dinner once a week. We do have it. It's the lamb. What we are serving, actually, the Chaîne de Rôtisserie is the main course is lamb. Always we have also an option with fish, the salmon here on the picture. We do have also the French onion soup, the pâté de Provence as an appetizer. But we also have, very important for people, maybe they don't like any salmon or they don't like any lamb. We always have the always available where you also can have a steak or a chicken breast with wedges, with French fries, with coleslaw. So it's actually once a week, very special dinner, also very, usually the chef's table in this night in the back is not fully booked because everybody wants to go in the main dining room for the Chaîne de Rôtisserie dinner.
I would actually suggest to consider our chef's table the first night because there are so many special nights still coming, in addition even to the chain. The captain's welcome dinner, if you're on a wine cruise, the wine paired dinner, where you want to be there. So many things, gala dinners. So yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And people
Robert,
can request a second night at the chef's table. It's just that the menu doesn't change.
Yep. And Robert, you do such a fine job with the presentation and the plating of dishes. Can you talk a little bit about that for us?
Yeah, well, as mentioned, I mean, it's not only about the taste, also the eyes are eating. So we really take it very serious also with the plating, because I think a nice product, nice presented on the plate, makes it even more special. And especially on AMA, our guests are very always taking pictures. They are very happy about our presentations, also about the taste for sure. But we take it very for granted to make it a nice presentation.
Okay, so Robert, how many different courses at the chef's table? Because I always have a discussion with our team here.
So actually, courses are 7 to 8 courses, but on each plate are 2 or 3 different dishes. So it's actually a lot of courses presented on one plate are 3 small courses. Actually, the experience of the chef's table is to have as many tastes, different textures, paired with wine. It's a small dining room. There is always a head waiter, also 2 waiters. The chef is also going to the tables. It's more private dining, let's say like this.
It's a memorable meal, very memorable.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. And also, Robert, since we're in the holiday season, why don't we talk a little bit about how we celebrate the holidays on board through culinary experiences? Can you talk through some of your holiday menus?
Well, we are always trying to give all the, let's say, all the holidays to our guests. For example, they are on Christmas on one of our ships, and they actually not at home. So we give our guests the Thanksgiving dinner, the Christmas dinners, Easter. For Easter, we do hot cross buns all over, small bunnies, marzipan carrots. For Thanksgiving, we do turkey. For the Christmas dinner, we do honey glazed ham. Also, we do turkey. So we have options for, depends. Some people, they like more the honey glazed ham. Some people like more the turkey, but also there we have our steak, our chicken breast, our salmon, if somebody doesn't like turkey, for example. And for the New Year's gala, we try to go above everything with nice Wellington. We serve high standard products, but also we do have on the New Year's gala, always in the lounge, a midnight snack buffet with chefs upstairs, also kind of like an action station. So a lot of food during the holidays.
Robert, we haven't touched upon vegetarian choices.
Always vegetarian options, all the time vegetarian options. There is always on our left side from the menu, there is always a vegetarian option. So soups, main courses, appetizers, and the same is for all our dietary requests. So if you have a vegan, if you have a gluten-free, lactose-free, the menu is always adjusted to the needs from our guests.
And I know we are not just celebrating Christmas on board, but also Hanukkah. And I know that you actually really create some very special meals for our guests to celebrate Hanukkah, and also Easter, the same.
Same as we do everything really. We also follow our manifest, what we have, and we know we have people from Asia, from Brazil, from any countries of the world. We always try to bring them home on the ship, let's say like this.
Robert, I have no doubt that many of the advisors on this webinar, many of their guests will be celebrating a lot of holidays next year with you on board.
Okay, I'll try to go through this quickly. So an hour before dinner, we have our sip and sail cocktail hour. And when did we add this, Christine? Is it 2 or 3 years ago now?
It's now 3. Oh, Gary, we have 2 full years that we had this. Now this year, of course, doesn't count.
Okay. So, but what's really delightful about this is it brings people into the lounge. It starts conversations. People form new friendships here. And then quite often they say, why don't you join us for dinner? And they go down to the maitre d' and then they continue the conversation. But it's a great added component. Now, during the meals, your excellent wines are included, your beers included, your soft drinks, your coffees throughout your cruise, gourmet coffees, bottled water throughout your cruise. Again, plastic free. But one of the reasons we, after dinner, for example, if you want a gin and tonic, you can sign for it, is because the majority of our guests still will go ashore after dinner. And it's just a better way to experience the country itself is to have, I always like to say, a beer in a 200-year-old beer hall in Germany. Now here we have on the Magna, we have different choices of restaurants. And throughout our ships, I mean, Calvin and Louise, you always said you liked the booths, right? You always went to the booths.
Yes, love the booths.
So
They're intimate. They're an intimate, dining experience. Yes.
And Gary, Louise likes to have a beer from time to time, and we're happy to say that when she asked if they had a gluten-free beer on board,
they did.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was great.
Well done. Okay, here's our alfresco restaurant, very, very popular. There's Jimmy's Restaurant. This is a restaurant named after my father. It's a family style. And then, of course, we also have the Chef's Table Restaurant, which is, everyone has their preferences. Some people like Jimmy's. Some people just like the main restaurant, Robert. They go there every night. But it's a great on the Magna to have these 4 different choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that becomes more and more important in today's times because people know they can spread out and they are not so close with each other. And of course, every meal, lunch, dinner is accompanied by the local fine wines. And those are wines adapted to the area. Could be Hungarian wine, German, Austrian, French wines, Franconian wines, another area in Germany, but Franconians are also in Bavaria, their own little country. And we also have fine Californian wines available at any time if you're not such a fan of the local wines, but most of our guests are. And, even so, we serve different wines every day. if you feel the wine from the day before was more pleasing your palate, then of course our dining crew and our bartenders, they will always come and present you the wine that you really got to like. So lots of flexibility, always available. And that brings us to our celebration of wine cruises. Of course, we continue with our wine experience cruises into the future. We currently have over 60 choices available, mostly in spring and in fall, but also quite a few in summer. And more and more enhanced Epicurean experiences. They are included in the price of your cruise. You never have to worry with AmaWaterways that you have to pay extra. So really what we do, we include this year. It's a great value. And with those wine cruises, where we have local wine hosts as well as wine hosts from the US, from Canada. I know you come from the western part of Canada, so we had wine hosts also from the Okanagan wine area to come on board. Great wines, I have to say. And they actually have lectures on board, wine tastings, wine blendings together with the guests. We compare our local wines from Europe with the wines that the wine host is bringing in, maybe from North America. And because everyone at home now appreciates so much food and wine by cooking, by trying so many different wines, this will have a great future in the years to come.
Well, the story continues. I'm wishing you all a very happy Christmas. I hope you can, even if you can't see your family or in person, but hopefully you can see them visually and share some, magical moments. This will pass. We're looking forward to getting back on the rivers and enjoying some of that wonderful cuisine that Robert and his team present to us. Calvin, Luis, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time out of your day and sharing those experiences. We're very, very grateful to have our guests, some of our loyal guests with us today.
Let's remain healthy and very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and peaceful and meaningful 2021. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.